Quite long video today, so use the chapters or timestamps to find the parts you're interested in. I've been hard at work making this Google Sheet obsolete for users like you. It is my pleasure to announce no more super wide sheets that are difficult to view on mobile. I published this website version of REGAL and put this very small text here and very clear text here about a month ago, so if you didn't know about it during this whole month, then I'm very sad. Go click the link in the description right now and bookmark it. This website is designed for both mobile and desktop, and I know most people will use it on mobile, but I will be demonstrating on desktop because this is a horizontal video and this mobile view would be too small to demonstrate. Furthermore, today I am releasing a huge update, adding the ultra desired feature of gear recommendations per ship, per content, because we recognize that going on the quick gear guide, finding the correct table for each slot on your ship and then finding the correct row is a very strenuous exercise for average Azur Lane players. But let's walk through all the features starting from the beginning, and then get to the stuff about the new collab event. Note that the UI and features everywhere on this tier list are subject to change because we're moving at a very fast pace. We have to do 5 times the work that the dead community tier list did in 7 or however many years they were alive for. And after less than 1.5 years as a spreadsheet and 1 month as a website, I dare say we've already surpassed them. The only thing remaining is gear for the last 19% of ships, for example Amagi CV, and that shouldn't take too long. And when that's done, REGAL will not be a replacement of ECTL, it'll be a total eclipse. So first things first, if you have a dark mode extension or your browser has a dark mode setting, then this website may look bad, so do exclude REGAL from dark mode. After that, you can use this button to switch. For the actual ship tier list, there are 2 view modes. One is grid. In grid view, this is basically what every tier list does, 1 tier at a time, a bunch of ships in each tier. And the other is a list view, which is like the spreadsheet, but a lot more responsive. There are 8 game modes or content that you can sort tiers by, and the guidelines which open on your first visit to this page explain what they are. In list mode, you can deselect the content so that you can sort all ships by a column, like for example light damage, fusion, and iron at the top, and then cargo ships at the bottom, I guess. This is stable sort, so you can sort by 1 column and then sort by another column, and they should be sorted by both columns. So top 2 are heavy damage, 5 and 5, and then we've got 5 in heavy damage, but 6 in light, and then 5 in the light. If you do select a content, then it'll become broken down by tiers, so that sorting only applies within each tier. You can also select multiple content columns inside of the menu, for example Hard Arbiter and Meta, and now you can sort by these 2 columns or see them both at the same time. All ships are mixed together, so in order to make sense of some of these columns like self-survival, we've got Lion at 1 and then Ager at 155. You'll have to filter to Vanguard only or main only. And if you can't find a ship, even with a search bar or the browser search bar, like Aulic for example, then check your filters. D tier is filtered out by default, so if I put in D tier now, Aulic should show up. Vanguard here, so Aulic shows up. Now onto the ship details. In both grid view or list view, click on any ship to view all ratings in one place. So for example, Lion is the first place in light damage because she's the only ship with a 6. Only 1 out of 300 main fleet ships with a 6. There are multiple main fleet ships with 6 in medium damage, so she's top 1%. And then Mecklenburg has a 6 in heavy damage, so Lion is top 1 to 5%. It's a percentile range because we're not ranking ships within the same number, so 4% of those ships have a 5 in heavy damage, and we're not ranking Lion within those 4%. But maybe you want to see how Lion stacks up against better competition. There are 79 gold or rainbow battleships. Actually fewer than that because ship pairs and versions like Mecklenburg and then Mecklenburg with Bismarck II count as multiple ships. Now Lion is top 3 to 9% in heavy damage because there are fewer ships to compare to. And at the bottom you can copy the URL to this ship on REGAL. So this URL will point to Lion, or you can go see the ship's stats and skills in the Azur Lane database. Finally, the feature that people are probably most interested in is gear. But it needs to be said, there's a readme, and you should probably read the readme. Although Regal gear is already way more relevant and less misleading than ECTL gear, there are still some disclaimers. Sometimes lower gear is better, some gear is omitted on purpose, and this feature should not be used as a priority guide for crafting, farming, or researching. And also, it's not a priority guide for gold enhancement plates. You can switch between different use cases or deselect the use case to go back to the ratings. Although this is an endgame tier list, we do try to accommodate new players by offering easily obtainable gear and highlighting the gear that may not be very worth getting. Like these 3 purple guns are not hard at all to get. The game even gives you a +6 gun for free, and it happens to be one of the best battleship guns for campaign up to chapter 12. We try to include purple and gold gear that you can pull from tech boxes whenever possible. For example, these come from tech boxes, and these 2 also come from tech boxes. And if you're not a fan of clicking through the carousel to see what's hiding in this block of 7, then you can do show all or show all sideways, which may not look very good on mobile. We've got 81% of ships done for now, and the remaining ones are submarines or ships with special gear needs like Hakuho's first slot or Yorktown 2's Eagle Union gear. This is a huge ongoing project. For example, William D. Porter can and should use a fast main gun in her first slot, and she should use a fast torpedo for campaign. But for bossing, you want to sink her torpedo with the main fleet ships, so being too fast is bad. There is such a long tail of really bad ships that nobody will care about. For example, sorry if Z18 is your waifu, but she has a 25% damage bonus with AP guns. So obviously, the Rainbow Mogador gun is the best for her, by far. But how does a Twin 128 AP gun compare with the Twin 130 normal ammo gun for DPS against a light armor boss? Because for normal ships, the 130mm is obviously much better, but Z18 has a 25% buff for the AP gun. Rest assured, we will eventually get all of this done for every single ship in the game. Now, a quick review of the 6 new Venus Vacation ships. I encourage you to use this REGAL to explore them since I did write longer descriptions for them and all the ratings are there. There are many ships with short or non-existent descriptions and we will be filling them in the future as well. So now to find the Venus Vacation ships, instead of filtering by collab and having to look through all the different collabs, I will just go to the changelog, find the latest ships here. These are all clickable, so the first one is Elise, the carrier. And she's not very unique, she just does carrier things, which is do airstrikes every like 20 seconds. Although for her second airstrike, it is reloaded 20% faster, which is not really good for bossing content where you want to sink your carriers. But for a campaign, it could be okay. She has middling damage on the scale of 1 to 6, 2, 3, 2, 2. This is not a linear scale, you can see thresholds in the guidelines, again, column definitions here. But I guess her most notable part is that she buffs other main fleet ships by 5% damage and 10% firepower or aviation stat, so that gets her a 2 in offense buff. All the gear is pretty standard, just same as the other carriers, and of course she does want her own augment. As for how much this augment does, we can look at augment modules guide, and Elise has a B in gain, so it doesn't give her much. It adds about 18% damage. Next we have Shizuku, and this is the battleship with pretty poor damage for a modern battleship. But her specialty is healing the fleet. So she can act as a semi-secondary healer or a tertiary healer perhaps. You can read the description to learn more. And I forgot to say, but Elise is B tier on some content, and then Shizuku is also B tier in some content, like Chapter 14 mob or challenge mode, and gear is just standard for battleships. Next we have Shandy, the heavy cruiser. She gives a lot of different buffs to the Vanguard randomly, and in expectation, it's worth about 8% damage for all the Vanguard and 4% survivability for all the Vanguard. Her survivability is nothing special, this is just Portland. Portland is 100, and 101% of Portland is not very good for endgame. And her damage is also pretty poor for endgame, so all she has is that small buff for the Vanguard, and that's why she's capping out at C tier. And again, standard heavy cruiser gear. Next we have Tsukushi. This is the Destroyer. She relies on a very powerful barrage every 20 seconds to do damage. This barrage accounts for like, I don't remember, like 30% of her damage or something. And unfortunately, no Azur Lane event is complete without bugs on the ships. And in this case, it's her augment. Her augment Up Ramen is supposed to give 20% crit rate, as it says in game, but it's actually 2%. But that's fine, she's still doing decent damage, I guess. And the augment is still very strong for her. Let's see here. The crit rate is bugged from 20% to 2%, and the augment currently adds about 36% damage. So if you're going to be using her, then you should definitely max the augment out. It's a very strong gain. Other than that, she is actually pretty survivable for a destroyer. If you compare her to all Vanguard ships or all gold Vanguard ships, she's in the middle, and then against destroyers, she's getting closer to the top. Decently tanky, but not main tank material. She can fit in the third slot, okay. And gear is standard gear again. Next we have Patty, the submarine, and I still don't have gear for any submarines, but that will be probably out soon, maybe this weekend. And Patty has one of the highest oxygen and reload combinations of all submarines. If we go to my submarine calculator and there's a table, higher on the table is more oxygen or more reload, and Patty is pretty close to the top. And high oxygen or reload means that she is more likely to be able to use Oxytorp instead of Snorkel. And if she does still use Snorkel, then she will finish firing all torpedoes more consistently with a greater chance than other submarines with worse oxygen or reload. So for example, if you have 28 reload from your cats with a... this is manual. Let's choose Patty here. Then with a Bitter and Snorkel, she can finish the 2 salvos with a huge margin of 13 seconds. So if you use a Snorkel and pressure resistant hold, then G7E is also pretty comfortable, and you should use G7E over Bitter in this case. So 8 seconds, very comfortable. You can also drop the Snorkel for an Oxytorp, and Oxytorp has, let's say, 10 reload at plus 10. So now her reload is 38 additional. And the Bitter without Snorkel has a 5-second margin of error. And that margin is usually needed if the boss is too far away when she's ready to fire, because submarines, they can just sit there doing nothing if the boss is out of range, and that wastes their oxygen. So this margin is to deal with that. But anyways, submarine gear recommendations will account for that oxygen and reload difference, and different subs will have different recommendations of Snorkel and Hull and Oxytorp, as well as Bitter and G7E. But anyways, Patty is not going to break into the top meta of the submarines, because although she does have strong barrages, she has 0 buffs for her actual equipped torps. Like, she has no torpedo buff or no torpedo crit rate buff. All she has is the soft stats like oxygen and reload. Finally, we have Yukino, the light cruiser, and she offers buffs. Like, this is pretty good, 10% zombie heal twice for your ships, the lowest HP ship, and an armor break every 15 seconds for 6 seconds, and it doesn't have to be on a heavy armor boss, it works on any armor. She also buffs the main fleet ship, one main fleet ship, by 8% damage twice in a battle, and this is actually not very good, but it's better than nothing. And then there is a torpedo buff that's not worth mentioning at all. Yukino has pretty high DPS at 4 in light and medium damage and 2 in heavy damage, and she has decent self-survivability at 92%. Do keep in mind that she does heal 10% twice, but it doesn't work on herself. She only heals other ships. So if you want to credit her heal for other ships to herself, then she would have like 112% self-survival. But instead of crediting her self-survival, it goes into Vanguard protection. So overall, she's B tier in some bossing content, and B tier in Chapter 14 op. And again, standard light cruiser gear. Her augment is another pretty strong one. It adds about 33% damage, so definitely get this augment and max it if you're going to use Yukino. So overall, this event banner, the cube banner of Elise, Shandy, and Yukino, is not worth pulling on if you're short on cubes and you don't care about collection. Save your cubes for UR banners coming next month. However, do keep in mind that as a collaboration event, these ships may or may not ever be obtainable again in the future. So if you're a collector, then you might want to spend some cubes here. Now, a quick review of the 3 new gear. Clover is a 500 HP auxiliary at +10, and it only heals up to 3% HP per battle, so it's worse than the first toolkit, and only destroyers want a second HP auxiliary. So for example, Tsukushi can use this Clover as a backup option if you don't have the better HP auxiliaries like Goldburn and RPG, which have better offensive buffs, or fleet-wide buffs even. Next is Electrifying Deco Pen, which has 550 HP at +10. And again, this is worse than the first toolkit, so only destroyers might use it. And this effect is not affecting the ship performance in battle, it's just a jukebox. So the Deco Pen would be part of this any 500 plus HP group, which we've limited the size of because this group would be too large even for a carousel. Finally is Gravure Photo Card, which is just anti-air and hit. So it's useless even for Venus Vacation ships, because 3% crit rate is basically nothing. And even if it were 10% crit rate, I don't think it would be good for Venus Vacation ships. The only use case for this anti-air and hit auxiliary is on Tempesta main fleet ships like Bro, for example. In campaign, she needs some AA and hit, like this microphone is the same. And we have here Gravure Photo Shoot here. Since these Tempesta ships cannot use the actual good battleship gear, they have to rely on these random hit stat or AA stat, and AA stat is necessary for them to survive against planes. In summary, Gravure Photoshoot is useless, Electrifying Deco Pen is bad, and Clover is good. Finally, some PSAs about the event. So number 1 is to buy Ibuki skin, I said in a completely unironic tone. Number 2 is here, this spa. Okay, first time. This spa on the top right corner is a really non-obvious button that you can tap. And in this spa, or hot spring, or onsen, you can put up to 10 ships here for some morale gain to farm maps with. Number 3 is use this whole event hub to make sure you don't miss anything. Definitely collect all the limited gear, even though these 2 are not so good. And you'll probably want to buy the furniture as well, even if it doesn't give comfort, just for collection. And also the commemoration statue for doing all the missions. Augments are optional for the ships you know for sure that you won't keep, like if you're broke and you don't like them, but if you will keep the ship, then you should get the augment. Shizuku is here at 1000 points, and I believe you can get her today actually if you farm enough. There's no more time gates on these, and if you farm even more, then you can get duplicates to say gold boolins. Patty and some of the gear are here, and as usual, active players are recommended to farm 55,000 points for the gold plates, and after that it's only 5,000 more points for a duplicate patty to save 1 gold boolin. Then we've got 2 more tabs here for some free stuff. The number 4 PSA is how to farm points. As usual, it's to play this SB stage once per day. This is a really efficient conversion from oil to event points. And after that, just farm SP4, there's no hard mode, with a full fleet of ships who need XP because there's oil cap. Or you can farm SP4 with a low oil fleet. If you know, then you know. I can do it in 40 oil per clear with the best cross fleets and gear. You might need 46 oil per clear for safety. And number 5 PSA is that the old Venus Vacation event will be rerunning next week with its own maps to farm and its own shop and milestones to clear. So do try to get most of this new Venus Vacation event done this week. And that concludes the video. In the future, don't expect this kind of event PSA from me. I only did it this time because the hot spring is quite camouflaged and the rewards may never rerun again.